on top of the world, about to jump above it. Take it straight to the moon, 'cause we know how to rock it. Ain't no thing you can do, ain't no way to stop it. Now you're feeling it too, let's get it started. Throw your hands in the air while the beat is dropping. Acting like you don't care when everybody's watching. Just keep whipping your hair like that, you got it. Yeah, you're feeling it too, let's get it started. I'm ready, ready. Let's get it, get it. I'm ready, ready. Are you ready, ready? Let's get it started. Charts off the meter, turn it up, blow the speakers, make them all to believers. Break through the surface, tell them open the curtains, give them all what they wanted, yeah. Now let's get started. I'm ready, ready. Let's get it, get it. Yeah, I'm ready, ready. I'm ready. Are you ready, ready? I'm ready. Let's get it started. Yeah, yeah, I'm ready, ready. Let's get it, get it. I'm ready, ready. Let's go. Are you ready, ready? Let's get it started. Let's get it started. Let's get it, get it. Let's get it started. Let's get it started. Let's get it. Yeah, 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 yeah. Give me something new. Time to break loose. Take it to another level. Now we on the move. Shout if you coming with me. Going over the limit. On your mark, keep it steady. So tell me, are you ready? I'm ready, ready. Yeah, let's get it, get it. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm ready, ready. Are you ready, ready? Let's get it started.
Welcome in, race fans, to another night of LSRTV action with Northwest Racing ARCA Series and what is the
Okay, I'm in TeamSpeak and I still have a blue screen on VMix.
An automobile purchase shouldn't be hard. The hardest part for the consumer in the whole process should be selecting the vehicle. We have the online credit application. We can bring the car to you to see it, to test drive it, to deliver it. We have all the tools in place, and we've had them in place for a long time. I just think now we've perfected it. It's become part of our culture. We've, kind of taken it to the next level. It is easy. And it should be easy, and it should be fun, and it shouldn't take a whole lot of time.
Hey, it's Wesley Outland, the face with the voice of the Northwest Cup and Truck Series, the American iRacing League that you hear simulcasted on the Community Radio Network. And that's what we want to tell you about. We are excited to continue the partnership of covering esports on CRN, just like we do with all the other broadcasts that I cover in real life, like MAV TV, Short Track America, Speed 51 TV, Fox Sports Radio for college, high school sports. The Community Radio Network does the same thing. In addition to broadcasting real athletics, we're excited to be the radio voice of LSRTV's coverage of the Northwest Cup and Truck Series presented by Tom Denchel Automotive Group, the American iRacing League, and special events along the way. It's very simple. On your web browser, laptop, tablet, or cell phone, go to wearecrn.com, click on play, and you are able to keep up with the action. It's very simple. The power of radio to the imagination of the listener. Check us out when you can. Esports coverage from LSRTV on CRN, the Community Radio Network, wearecrn.com.
All righty, let's try that again. Sorry about the technical difficulties there. We are LSRTV, and we are with the Northwest Racing Series, the third week in the round of 8, picking it up here at New Hampshire alongside John Mustin, Brandon Robinson here. John, as 2 races before the championship race here at New Hampshire, next week at Miami, it's a pretty tight points battle. Who are you looking at tonight to really take a stab here at a good finish with New Hampshire?
Well, New Hampshire is a flat track, as you're well aware there, Brandon. And to be perfectly honest with you, I don't know these guys well enough to really pick one guy. I will say this: the guy that's been doing the best on flat, not a lot of banking tracks like your Martinsville, like your Phoenix, tracks like that will probably be somebody to keep an eye on tonight. Now, your points leader coming in is Ryan Bloom. So you got to kind of think, well, if he's leading the points this far in, he's probably got a pretty good shot at doing pretty good tonight, don't you think?
Yeah, and as flat as this track is, that's 1 to 7 degrees, by the way, in the turns, 1 degree on the straightaway. So we're going to see some heavy braking zones here. We're going to see a lot of drivers feathering throttles out and really making sure that they're taking care of corner exits here. That's going to be pretty much the key to the consistency here tonight, making sure that you're taking care of your tires and you're taking care of that throttle control. I think it's going to be a good race here. As you said, these guys have been racing all season long together. If we look at the standings overall, you mentioned Ryan Bloom. He's got 4,089. Robert Gamble behind him, 4,077. And that third place driver, James Vining, with 4,075. A really tight race up there with those guys. Even 4th and 5th, Frank Harris, 4,073. And Troy Daggett there in 5th with 4,070. So tonight can determine a lot here. If Ryan Bloom doesn't come in here focused with a good finish, it really opens up the door for Robert and James behind him to take over that points lead. And, of course, Troy Daggett outside that 4th spot. So some key drivers to look at here tonight is going to be Frank Harris in that 4th and Troy Daggett there in that 5th.
Absolutely. You've only got a 19-point split between Bloom and then Daggett down there sitting in 5th on the outside looking in. So it's going to be really, really important for these guys to not get so caught up in on-track disputes or on-track drama in this one particular race. They've got to focus on the big picture. And speaking of big pictures, when you look at the overall stats for the season, out of the 8 that are left in this, that we've got here, there are only 3 guys that have wins in all the, entire season. Of those 3 guys, Bloom's got 5. Gamble in 2nd place has 1. And then way down there in 6th place in the points, Kevin Smith's got 3 wins. So, there's something to be said for points in your way into it. But when you get down this late in the game, I think wins are the guys who've gotten to victory lane are going to be the ones to keep your eye on.
Yeah, not just the wins, too. I mean, Ryan Bloom's got 21 top 10s, 18 top 5s. You go down the list, Robert Gamble up there for a reason, 19 top 10s, 10 top 5. So these guys that are up here in the top 8, certainly statistically right up there. That's a really good point. And again, these drivers, I've been sitting here watching the practice. These guys showed up an hour and a half ago, almost 2 hours ago, John. They are laser focused. They came to New Hampshire ready to rock. I can't wait to get this race started.
Oh, absolutely. You know, you were talking about the banking earlier, Brandon. I still to this day, every time somebody says that there's banking at New Hampshire, I'm like, no, there's not. There's not, man. When you sling a car down that corner at 150 miles an hour, it really does not feel like there's any banking pushing back on you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's a really tough track, especially coming out of turn 4. When you get on that front stretch, it closes in, right? You have that inside barrier where pit road's right there on the other side. The back stretch opens up a little bit. Yeah, it's a little bit more forgivable on corner exit. But these drivers going through turn 3, trail braking is going to be a must here if you want to be fast and consistent. But coming out of turn 4, it's going to be very important that you don't start to lose your car, because you can lose it in a hurry, and there's really not a whole lot of space out there on the track, John.
Oh, absolutely. This track, it looks wide from the outside, but when you're on the track in the car with, 20 other guys in front of you and behind you, it feels like it's a small box. Now, you mentioned something very interesting there, Brandon, trail braking. For those of our viewers who aren't familiar with that term, why don't you explain what that means exactly?
Well, I think it was Mr. Andretti a long time ago who had made a statement. He said that he didn't understand the guys that were using their brakes to slow down. You use your brakes to actually go faster. And that's something that trail braking is all about. You use your brakes when you go into your corner entry to not just slam on your brakes and lock it up and slow down, but you actually put enough pressure on the brakes to be able to keep your car stable, but also get that nose turned around so that drifting would be an overstatement, but that's essentially what you're doing, is you're drifting your car through the turns to be able to pick up as much pace as you can, especially for that corner exit.
It's the greatest explanation I've ever heard of, to be honest with you. It is a lot. I mean, it's very similar to drifting, folks, but basically you're using your brakes to steer the car through the turn. And that's why you'll hear this mentioned a few times if we get a chance to talk to some of these guys later on about playing with the brake bias. That's the one thing you can do in these fixed sit-up leagues, is play with your brake bias as the race goes on. If we say get a long green flag run and these tires start to slicken up, the track starts to get slick, these guys can adjust their brake bias to help them get through the turns a little bit better.
Yeah, and that is, as we take a look at the weather conditions here, 84 degrees, wind speeds 8 miles, 9 miles per hour. But look at that track temperature, John, 106 degrees. It's mostly cloudy, but that's a pretty hot track there, and it should make for a sticky track out there.
Absolutely. How do DW used to call that? It's going to be greasy, sticky, something like that. It's greasy.
Yeah. And speaking of brake bias too, I mean, I think that you bring up a really good point there. A lot of times when a driver is stagnant and he's hitting the fastest lap times and he can't get any faster, that's really what separates the guys that are at the top of those standings and the guys that may be on the outside looking in. They're still top 10, maybe top 5, but they're not out there winning races consistently. Your brake bias, you turn that down, it's harder to control, harder to drive, of course. It's something that you got to spend some time with. But once you do and you master running a lower brake bias and start working on your trail braking, those two things, especially on a track like New Hampshire, we talked about it before, how flat it is, it's really going to play the key role, of course, along with taking care of your tires out there.
Absolutely. You just hit the nail on the head right there, Brandon. Taking care of the tires, especially in this ARCA car, and especially at New Hampshire, the guys who can take care of their equipment, stay out of trouble, keep the fenders on the car, those are going to be the ones that we see at the end of the night up forward, possibly in victory lane.
Yeah, as we are about 3 minutes from going green here. This is the Northwest Racing ARCA Series. We appreciate you guys tuning in. We are LSRTV, the third week in the round of 8. Some race information there for you. It was a 2-hour practice. I've been here for most of it. 2-lap qualifying. And, John, we're going to go around here 140 times.
Yeehaw.
Pretty long race there, but, I think that gives these drivers plenty of time to get settled in. Nobody has to go out there right off the rip and take positions back. New Hampshire, If you get a really good run, or if we go green and we come down for some green flag pit stops and somebody has fresher tires than the other, you can really take advantage of the turns here. But, when it's fair game, this isn't going to be the most easiest track to navigate through traffic. So if we do go on a long green flag, which I assume we will, it'd be interesting to see how these leaders start navigating their way through, and especially the guys that are trying to get more track position.
Exactly. And unfortunately, unlike the real world, we can't put PJ1 down on this track to develop a two-groove turn. And what I mean by that is, as this race goes on, you're going to see it fairly quickly, really, that there's only one lane getting through these turns. Normally, it's right down on the apron, I believe, through 3 and 4, and then about a half a lane up through 1 and 2, or it might be the way around. It's been a while since I drove the ARCA car at New Hampshire, but basically passing anybody, be it a lap car or somebody for position, is going to be a painstaking procedure that you're going to have to be patient with if you want to last long in this race.
Now, watching these guys practice for as long as I did, it really seemed like the longer they were out there, and this is natural at a lot of tracks, but I think especially here at New Hampshire, there wasn't a whole lot of bottom feeding going on. These guys were trying to stay away from that yellow stripe. They weren't riding it. They were kind of in that middle line. You see the two different tones of asphalt out there, and they were right in the center there. In fact, if you look at the white lines right there in turns 1 and 2, there's about 4 lanes that you could choose from. But these guys, and as the race goes on, if we get single file, these guys are going to be right there in the middle of the track. I think that's where not only you're going to save the most tires, but I think that's where the most grip is going to be on corner exit. And again, I can't stress that enough. On a flat track like this, corner exit is going to be everything here tonight.
Absolutely, could not agree with you any more than you right there. I mean, it's corner exit is where the passes are probably going to start. To be honest with you, you're going to want to get as good a run off that exit as you can in the car in front of you, and then use that momentum all the way down that stretch going into the next turn. And also, unfortunately, that being said, I also believe that our 2 corner exits off of 2 and 4 are also where we see most of the hitting and banging in this race.
Now, as we said, there's only 2 more races left before the Championship 4 head up Las Vegas. That'll be November 12th. But going back to 2 weeks ago when the round of 8 started, it was at the Worldwide Technology where we saw Sean Breitzman win that race. And then last week at Chicagoland Speedway was Dennis Moore. So we've talked about the guys that are sitting on top of the standings, but 2 different winners in the last 2 previous races. But as I look, John, through the round of 12, Sean Breitzman, I hope I'm saying that right, Breitzman, he's got 3 wins so far in the playoffs. So Dennis Moore coming off Chicagoland, certainly coming, with as much momentum as he can. But Sean Breitzman, 3 wins in the last 6 weeks or so.
He's on a roll. He really, really is, man. I'm looking through the field now. Everybody's gridding up. We got 19 cars that are going to start this race. And Brandon, I'm seeing actually some familiar names out there. Ryan Fournier, I've run against him a couple of times. Wakefield back there in the back, I run against him. But this guy in 7th place, Stabnow, that name sounds vaguely familiar too. Kevin Smith, I've seen him a few times. So a bunch of good drivers in this field.
Yeah, and speaking of Sean Breitzman coming in with all that momentum, just to be clear, he is not a playoff driver. He's not in the round of 8. But nonetheless, still here to win some races as we go over the grid. Sean Breitzman in row 1 with Dan Lowther sharing that first grid. Row number 2 is going to be shared with Devin West and Kevin Smith. At row 3, Ryan Bloom, he's your points leader right there. And in 6th place, going to be Eric Cheney. Row 4, going to be Jeff Stabnow, Steve Paulison. 9th and 10th, right there in row 5, going to be James Vining and James Thurston. Outside the top 10, Carl Burke, Aaron Cooper, sharing row 6. The 26 Chevrolet of Ray Fernier going to be right there in that lucky 13 on the inside of BJ Duvall in 14th. Tro Daggett and Judd Wakefield sharing row 8, 15th, and 16th. And it's going to end with Frank Harris and Russ Lundberg in that 9th row. So, John, as we get these drivers out there on the pace laps, getting ready to go, green flag racing here at New Hampshire. We talked about the key to the races here, but give us a little bit of input on what these drivers might be thinking, the playoff drivers anyways. We got them in the middle of the field, saving tires, staying out of trouble, or are you going all out trying to get up to that front?
Me, I'm staying out of trouble. I've got big picture in my head right now. I don't have to win. I just have to finish the race, not get in a wreck, not take myself out.
And as the green flag drops, it's Breitzman going down into turn one as the race leader, beating that 63 car down into turn one. Out of turn two, onto the backstretch. Those drivers going to be single file. Pretty much at least 1 through 4th, 5th. So these guys single file pretty early here. That makes for a pretty good, clean start of the race, John.
Yeah, we got a battle though right here for 4th place, and it looks like it's going to single file out right there. Oh, he cuts down in front of me, got a little contact there, and he's going to get that car gathered up. Goes back in and hits the 58. That's going to bring the caution out. We got one car, the 333 is going to get in on that. It's hard to see the numbers on that purple and black car when the colors are that close together. I couldn't tell exactly who that was.
Yeah, it looks like James Vining, Stephen Paulison, the two drivers that are showing up on my end here at least, maybe another driver or two involved in there. So early on there, maybe guys still feeling each other out. We'll go ahead and take a look at the replay here presented by Pulse Poppers. As I hear these guys talking a little bit, yeah, just the 76. Looks like he had a really good run on the backstretch, trying to recover after lifting the 58 car on the outside of him, coming down on them. So I think maybe just a racing deal there, John, and these guys will be able to get back on the grid and go back to green flag racing.
Well, the good news is aerodynamics don't play a huge part here. I mean, yeah, we have a super long straightaway for such a flat track. They'll get up to about 145, 150 going into those turns, but at least, like I said, it's not Talladega or Daytona. They don't have to worry about trying to draft up on somebody or how bad the wrinkles are going to affect their car. As long as they don't overheat with nose damage or something like that, they should be all right.
Yeah, this is, New Hampshire being a mile long. It's not a Martinsville or a Bristol, but it's not a 1.5 miles or a 2-mile racetrack. I think that's a good point. These guys are going to really be able to survive a lot of body damage here. Of course, you bring up the nose. You got to protect that. You got to protect your gearing box and make sure that you have full control of the steering wheel. But if these guys get out there on the track like what we just saw, they're beating and banging, a track like this, you can really take a lot of damage on your race car.
Absolutely. That's the good news. Bad news is with the new damage model, I've heard, like I said, I haven't raced this ARCA car a whole lot in a while, but I've heard horror stories about wheels coming off for just the slightest bump. So I guess you need to be careful with that as well.
Yeah, as these drivers make their way behind the pace truck here, an early caution at New Hampshire involving two drivers. Didn't look like anything malicious, no big damage there. We'll get these guys back to green flag racing. A lot of cool paint schemes out there, John. Some Cartoon Network, some Kevin Harvick throwbacks. I saw an LSRTV paint scheme out there earlier, and of course, a lot of drivers inside and outside this league, of course, rocking paint schemes for breast cancer awareness here tonight.
Yeah, it is coming down to the end of October and worldwide, I think, or at least nationwide, October is Cancer Awareness Month. So I've seen a lot of paint jobs over the last 29 days of this month. Love seeing that kind of awareness get out there in the world, you know what I mean? I've got some family members that have dealt with cancer. I've lost grandparents, 3 of them to forms of cancer. So it's touched my life in a way, but it's good to see that kind of attention getting out there.
Absolutely. Ryan Bloom, overall points leader, started 5th. That's where he's going to take the grid this time. Jeff Stabno up a position. James Thurston up 3 spots. On the outside of him in that 26 machine, Ray Fernier up 6 spots. Early going. Green flag, single file. It's Sean Breitzman taking that green flag and a huge jump out of that 46 car.
Yeah, there was a lot of accordion effect on that race restart right there. It looked like maybe Stabnow and Bloom kind of, I wouldn't say bumped each other, but it was a huge checkup on that, which got, a nice lead for Breitzman there.
Yeah, there was. And Ryan Bloom actually, because of that, drops back two positions on that restart. And you're absolutely right. The leader went, but I'm not sure if that second place driver, there was certainly an accordion effect there. Some drivers making contact, and that's how it's going to play out on this restart. Now everybody giving each other plenty of space after that restart, but just a phenomenal job by that 46 Chevrolet. But Dan Lowther right there in the 63 machine right behind him, keeping pace.
Absolutely. And what we're going to see, I'm sure now that everybody's kind of got that first restart, jitters out of the way, everybody's going to settle in here, get a feel for the track, a feel for the car, probably try and see how the car how it'll handle that high track temperature. When we start this race, Brandon, 106 degrees, and that's pretty freaking hot for a track.
Yeah, and it's only going to go up from there. Steve Paulison in the 58 all black ARCA. He's at the end of the line here. He was that driver that was involved in that first caution, so he's sitting back there in 19th, trying to make his way back up through the field. Eric Cheney, another driver in the 76. He's fallen back 7 spots in the early going, sitting in 13th, but a handful of drivers already in the green right there, and I'm looking at those 9th through 12th drivers: BJ Duvall, Ray Fernier, BJ Tidrick, Troy Daggett, Trey Daggett, all up 4 spots here, John, in the early going. So I think some guys struggling here a little bit in the early going, but there's a handful of drivers already on the move through the field.
Absolutely. For you folks tuning in late, our playoff drivers in the round of 8 here, you've got the guys that are marked in green are going to advance. The blue is in the playoffs. The orange is outside the top 4, which is the cutoff for the next round. And red are the guys that must win to advance. So just keep your eyes on that scoreboard as we go through this race. Boy, we got some mixing it up going right here with the 72 and the 26. Got the 16 in that. The 58, I believe, was up in there. 51, excuse me. And the 76 was involved earlier. That's going to be Cheney in that 76 car. 51's pressuring really hard on the inside right there on the 26 right now, Fournier.
Yeah, some good battles going out there. And, of course, John, these drivers, knowing they don't need the legend there, they know where they stand in the standings. I think, that's really going to make the difference between the drivers that we see being aggressive out there tonight and then the drivers that you might see being really aggressive, the ones that are outside the top 4, trying to get into that championship race. They got 2 more weeks to do it here at New Hampshire tonight, next week. Heading into Miami, I believe. So still 2 races left, but these guys know where they are. They know the desperation's starting to kick in if they want that championship here at the end of the season. And we see it right now. Some guys single file. You just called out some really good racing here. Lap 12 out of 140. We've only had 1 caution here so far, and pretty much ever since then, John, it's been cleaned up tremendously.
Absolutely. Now we've had a change for second place up front. It's still Breitzman leading this, and he's got about a second lead on the rest of the field. But West got by Lothar there with a really slick move going down through 3 and 4. Took him down low on the inside and kind of washed up a little bit, took his line away from him. I'm digging that car that West is driving. That's the Kevin Harvick GM Goodwrench car that Kevin drove at Atlanta and Rockingham immediately after Earnhardt Sr.'s death. The black with the white, the white background with the black lettering and red lines. I love that car. It was one of my favorites, but that was a great move that he put on to take second spot away. And now he sets his sights on Breitzman. But I tell you what, Brandon, Breitzman is checked out.
Yeah, he's a second over Devin West right now, but Devin was working on Dan for a little while. Now he's got that clean air. He's already got almost a half-second lead on Dan behind him. So I think he's going to continue to grow that lead on Dan and start pulling down Sean. It's already under a second right now as he comes out of turn number 3 onto the front stretch. So Sean, he's enjoying the clean air up there for now, but I think Devin West in that Kevin Harvick throwback, most certainly trying to track him down as fast as possible as we make our way through the field. Kevin Smith started in 4th. That's where he sits. Jeff Stambo up 2 spots. He's taken over that top 5 position. Ryan Bloom only down a spot. He fell a couple there on that accordion restart that we had, but he's climbed his way back up to 6th. James Thurston is behind him, up 3 spots in 7th, along with Carl Burke, BJ Tidrick, and Troy Daggett there inside the top 10 with Eric Chaney in 11th and Ray Fernier in 12th.
We're on board right now with Dan Lothar in that 63. I think he let Wes go. I'm gonna be honest with you. He's probably thinking big picture here. He wants to be around at the end of the race, make sure he's there for the fight. So he saw a car that was a little bit faster than him come up on him. He let him go. Now he's just kind of keeping his eyes on him and watching him certainly track down that leader of Sean Breitzman in that 46.
Yeah, and that's what, that's a smart move by that 63 car. That most likely is the case. Look, if you can have a little bit of a run going, maybe you race them, but that 5 car of West, he was so dominant there for those last 2 laps before making the pass. Oh, car getting sideways there.
Oh, we had one disappear. I believe it was the 63 of Lothar just kind of disappeared, but he's back now. He's gone for maybe a second or two. But,
well, maybe that's another reason too. Maybe he's battling some internet issues, but as far as on track goes, that's a good point. If somebody's got to run this early into the race, there's no point of beating up your tires. It's a long night. You got a long race ahead of you. Let that 5 go up there, and then just start running some clean laps.
Oh goodness! Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you there, Brandon. Daggett in that 51 just sent it down to turn 2 there. Oh, we got 2 cars simultaneously getting a little bit loose there. Both drivers able to save it and drive away, but man, that was tense. One of those was Daggett. I'm not sure exactly what happened there, but man, that was tense for a second.
Yeah, and it looks like a good save by the 51 car there of Troy Daggett. As a couple of those guys coming off of turn 2. Now, we're not too deep into the race, John, but we're deep enough, and we've had some really hard racing here. Obviously, tire wear starting to come into play here. It's not anything crazy right now, but that's something these drivers are going to have to think about with nobody pitting on lap 2, which, why would you? But because of that, these guys are going to have to start thinking about, when the pit window opens, where they want to be when it does open up. And in the meantime, while out there on the track, really starting to take care of those tires like we talked about pre-show.
Exactly. Now, and I want to just throw it down to the producer. He just got a great camera shot there of those cars going down the front stretch, and you can really see the yaw in those cars. And by yaw, what I mean is you got your nose going one way and your rear end going the other. Those cars are set up like that to help them get in the turns. But I tell you what, you forget how much yaw is built into this ARCA car until you see a shot like that. And back to what you were touching on, Brandon, tire wear. We're at 21 laps now of 140 laps. And with this car and this tire model, you'll start seeing these cars getting real loose now. And it's going to boil down to who can drive a loose race car for right now. Do you know, by any chance, if they've got a tire limit, how many tires they've got in the pits?
That I personally don't. Hopefully our producer Cody might be able to catch us up to speed with that. I'd also like to know what fuel they're on here tonight too, so we can get a better idea of when that pit window might open up. But 22 laps in, John, on a racetrack with a little bit more bank, or a mile and a half, you're not really worried about it. But here, and not to keep stressing about it, but with such little banking, 22 laps, and you're running 100%, that is a lot of wear on those tires.
Absolutely. And I believe Daggett just got in the wall back there, coming off at 2, it looked like, or might have been 4, excuse me. Yeah, it was 2. He got a wall a little bit there, and like I said, that's those tires starting to give out a little bit. You're gonna get loose off exit, and that car's gonna want to wash up. And what it is, Brandon, it's you kind of mentioned it. It's the lack of banking here. These tires are going in with such tremendous G-force and load on those tires into the corners, and that car just kind of wants to go straight with centrifugal force, physics and all that good yippee stuff. And so that puts a heck of a load on these tires, especially on a flat track. So you're going to start seeing these guys, and look at that. The 76 does a smart move right there. Chaney, he sees Daggett coming. He knows he's got a faster car, so he's going to let him on by. He gave him that low line, gave him lots of room going down that turn. To me, that's a driver that understands big picture racing and also understands he doesn't want to be one of those guys that affects a championship race. Thank you, sir. Well, I'll tell you what, Brandon, already I am seeing a lot of guys, we call it a happy tail on that car. They come in through the middle of that turn, and that car's back end starts slipping and sliding. That's when these cars get fun to drive, in my opinion. You know, they're fun at the first 2 laps, but man, when you get on a nice long run and they start getting slick and wiggling on you, that's what makes it fun right there.
Yeah, sorry, John. I didn't mean to leave you hanging there. I was listening to voice chat.
No
I know
worries.
the guys at home can't hear that, but I have it up on my end. And you're absolutely right. Big picture racing. These guys have been communicating since the green flag drop. And that pass that you were talking about right there, that actually came onto the radio. The guy that made the pass thanked him. He said, yeah, no worries. I'm not going to race you that hard right now. So that's certainly playing a factor on lap 26. On lap 126, John, I don't know if we'll have those guys play as nice here. But if you guys are just joining us, this is LSRTV, the Northwest Racing ARCA Series, the 3rd race in the round of 8. There's another one after this before that championship race. And right now, I think this is what we expected. I mean, look, we got the first caution out of the way. That could have been pre-race jitters or, you know, people just making that mental mistake. But ever since then, John, lap 27, we've been green the whole way. We've seen some really good side-by-side racing, some good overtakes. And really, these guys are just settling in here at New Hampshire.
Absolutely. That's a great point, too. That first caution came out so fast, you just got to think it was really just a mental mistake and no big deal. The guys have shrugged it off. Now, we started this race, Brandon, with 19 cars. We still have 18 cars in the lead lap. 1 car has retired from the race. That's Mr. Burke down there into 53. He was also the other car that got loose off of 2 a while back with Daggett. I'm not sure what happened, but he just pulled into the pits and left. So that leaves us with 18 cars on track and 18 cars still on the lead lap.
Yeah, and Sean Breitzman still leading on lead lap here. He was the pole sitter for anybody joining us late. Ever since then, all he's done was get out to a big lead. I'm looking at it right now, almost a half second with Devin West, who took that second spot from Dan Lother, about 10 laps ago. Kevin Smith in 4th. But, you know, Jeff Stabno, it's not crazy numbers or anything, but he's found himself up 2 spots. He's inside that top 5. BJ Tidrick right now, our biggest mover currently, up 8 spots, finding himself in 7th place. That 72 in-and-out ARCA car right now, John, firing on all cylinders.
Well, I'll tell you what, it's all about rhythm, Brandon, especially with this car, and especially on a flat track, rhythm. And the more consistent you are with your car, getting into the corners, getting off the corners where you put the pedal down in the middle of the turns, the better off you're going to be. And I think right now it looks like Stabnow's really got him looking at his timing and scoring. And he's been very, very consistent with his lap times. Right now we're seeing 32:21 from our leader, 32:09 just then. West is right behind him, but about a 10th off. Stabnow's not too far behind them. I mean, I tell you what, it's like I said, it's all about rhythm, getting that rhythm in.
Yeah, speaking of a rhythm right now, we got James Thurston and Troy Daggett battling it out. Those guys are side by side down into turn 1. It looks like the advantage on that 51, but what you guys are going to see, that outside line carrying so much momentum here that the number 2 of James really tracks him back down on the backstretch there, and that's something that we're going to see here. You see it a lot of tracks, John. You dive down on the inside, you think you got that guy beat, but there's just so much momentum to have on that outside line.
Yeah, look at that. I mean, he is definitely not just going to lay over and let Troy Daggett have that spot. Oh, I hate net code, Brandon. It just, I'm up here in the booth, and I still just cringe whenever I see people start blinking out.
Wow, and it's so tough, too, when you're trying to race around somebody. Now, in this specific scenario, nobody has to worry about it, but when you're racing right behind somebody that's doing that, it can be tough. But, you know, it looks like it's under control, and this battle here between these guys,
awesome.
This is for 7th, or 8th, excuse me. Yeah, it's been the highlight of the race so far, lap 33 here, and it looks like that 2-car John's going to concede that position to the 51.
Oh, and the 51 just gave a little tank slapper to the outside wall. Now, we touched on this earlier when Troy Daggett went around, I think it was Cheney in the set. Oh, it might have been Thurston in the 2. No, it was Cheney. You know, Cheney didn't fight him. He gave it to him. But look at this. On the other side of that spectrum, you've got Thurston was really giving Daggett a run for his money there for about 5 or 6 laps.
Yeah, and John, it looks like 100% fuel and 4 sets of tires for these guys, and of course the ones that are included at green flag drop. So these guys don't have to worry about fuel as much as they do tires. I'm not sure where that's going to put the window. That really comes down to who can drive the car the best when it's tight, right? I mean, there are drivers that are really, really good on fresh tires, and they enjoy a loose car. But on the flip side of that, there's drivers that maybe they qualify poorly. They drop back a little bit at the beginning of the race, but when these cars start to tighten up, they drive a little bit better than those guys who were fast right off the jump. So with 100% fuel, 4 sets of tires, we could see some interesting strategies here tonight.
Well, we've got a fight for the lead right now. West has finally pulled in Breitzman in that 46, and they've been duking it out with West down the inside, Sean Breitzman on the outside in that Scooby-Doo Dodge. And I tell you what, it's been fun to watch for the last couple of laps. Now, these guys, neither one of them are playoff eligible right now. This is all about the win right here, Brandon. That's all these guys care about.
Yeah, don't forget the 46 car on the outside winning 3 of the last 4 or 5 races. So he's certainly out there. And you know what? I think that makes for a even more interesting race up front. You nailed it, John. Devin and Sean not being this isn't like a non-playoff driver versus a playoff driver. These guys can kind of beat and bang a little bit. They can race with each other without having any big repercussions, as we see Sean kind of imitating the first battle that we laid eyes on, the 76 car coming down on lap 37. Not too sure if something's wrong, or maybe this is just the beginning of those green flag pit stops, but it's nice to see the guys up front and you know, really racing for first without having any repercussions.
Yeah, absolutely. And it just, you know, it's fun to watch these guys race hard but race clean too. I haven't really seen any blatant you know, bumper banging or trying to turn somebody going into the corners, and that's just refreshing to see. I don't know if you've ever done any YouTube surfing, but there's a channel called ARCA Break Weekly that is just, it's so cringe, cringe.
Well, and
here we go again with West.
Yeah, here he is on the inside. He's been trying to really make a run on the inside, but Sean, even when given the opportunity, he had the 5 clear, John, a lap ago, but he wants that outside line, and he's not worried about coming down towards the yellow and closing the door on Devin for as long as he still has this clean run on the outside line. But as I say that, he gets a little bit loose coming out of turn 4. Advantage, Devin West down into turn 1.
And if West clears him right here, Brandon, he can move up and take that outside line if he wants it and continue to hold that lead coming out of 2. So give it to West. A long fight, a long battle right there, Brandon, but he finally gets him. It only took him 37 laps to do it, but he got him.
Yeah, I was just getting ready to say, hey, I called it, but I thought it was going to happen about 30 laps ago. So I'm not going to take any credit for that. But nonetheless, Devin West in that 5 car, as we see more cars coming down pit road, John. It looks like the pit window has most certainly opened up. That's Will Duvall down there, currently in 18th. These guys coming down for fresh tires, and you know, if you're racing for the lead, you're probably going to stay out darn near just as long as you possibly can. But for some of these drivers that are, you know, outside the top 5, maybe outside the top 10, they start feeling those tires go in an unsafely manner. They're not worried about what the guy in front of them's doing. They're coming down pit road and getting some rubber.
Absolutely, especially if their name happens to be highlighted orange or blue right now. But I was, you know, you kind of touched on a little bit there, but I was just thinking, you know, right now everybody's doing their green flag pits, or a lot of these guys are thinking about green flag pit stops. And after you get a set number of these guys in, you got 18 cars on track. So let's say you get 9, 10, 11 of them that go in now. Now the rest of them got to be thinking to themselves, how much longer do I want to stay out on old tires? Because now I'm giving up time to these guys with fresh tires, and it's a lot of time.
Yeah,
and
speaking of time,
we'll go to our timing. A guy with fresh tires is cutting a 31.4, whereas your leader just put a 32.4 down. So it's
Beautiful.
A second almost of time on track, yeah.
And speaking of a second, Devin West, since taking the lead from Sean Breitzman, he's now got over a second lead on Sean, almost 3 seconds to third place driver Dan. So he's going to be out there cruising. And, some of these guys, you hate coming down under green. You don't want to give the leader a lap and get down off of lead lap. But with Devin in such firm race control here, some of these drivers who are in the top 6, top 5 might be thinking about coming down pit road here pretty soon.
Well, it's another thing, we talked about this earlier. Guys that can really work with a race car this late in a run, guys like Devin West, who don't seem to be falling off the pace hardly at all this far. We're 44 laps into this run. They've got, 43 laps of green flag runs on these tires? And it just seems to me like his car is in better control now than it was at the start of the race. So you got guys, Brandon, who are really better at driving this car with the older tires than the rest of them are on track, per se.
Yeah, the car tightens up. They're more comfortable, and it's. I'm one of those drivers. I am not a great qualifier, and if I have a really loose race car, I'm not as comfortable as I am when the braking comes into play and the tires start to wear. Your car starts to tighten up. That's when a lot of drivers can really start getting in their groove, and that's what we saw with the number 5 car. And he's not slowing down anytime soon. Now his lead over Sean almost up to 2 seconds. But looking back to the rest of the field, 3rd, 4th, and 5th, he's got a 4 to 5 second lead over those guys.
I'll tell you what, I just realized something. I was looking through TeamSpeak, and just a little. This is what I think of when I see guys in the same channel. So Devin West and Breitzman are all in the same channel. How much poop talking do you think was going on when West finally tracked Breitzman down and passed him for that lead?
Well, I'll tell you, while they were racing, there probably wasn't a whole lot being said. That was some real door-to-door racing for a good, 5-6 laps, right? And maybe if Sean, depending on his character, which I won't judge, I don't know him, but it was either a, hey, really good run, or it was a, I let off. I don't feel like racing.
Yeah,
right
I
now.
let you go, man. I let you go.
Yeah. So, but again, I'm sure Sean.
Our producers chime in on that one.
Yeah, so I'm sure Sean, being a gentleman, said, hey, man, heck of a run there. Good job.
Well, I'll tell you what, this is a great battle we've got going on right now between the Kevin Smith car 0-0 and it looks like Stab now down there on the inside.
Yes.
And I'll tell you what, I'm going to be honest with you. If I was racing a guy whose last name was Stab now, I wouldn't piss him off. Woo!
Oh, the 24.
Stab now, the 24 got real loose right there. Real loose.
Yes, he really did. And that's obviously going to ruin
great save.
His shot at taking Kevin. But that's exactly what I was going to say, John. That was, he went left, slightly went right. A lot of drivers, that's when they tend to fight the oversteer maybe a little bit too much and overcorrect it. But a fine job of that 24 car.
And, the thing is, and you don't want to do that too much. I'm going to tell you why. The more you slide those tires, the more you're going to wear them down faster. Not a lot of people realize that. But even early in a run, if you get a little loose, and the more you drive that car to its breaking point where it breaks traction, the more you're going to wear those tires out, especially that right rear tire. And when that thing's gone, man, your life is hell on track.
Yeah, and those two drivers right there probably having a lot of fun, know each other very well. That 24 machine, Jeff Stabnow, the owner of Northwest Racing ARCA Series, Kevin Smith, this year, John, league sponsor. So those guys know each other well, as you see Jeff. Now, this is what I'm talking about. Jeff, he had a good run, but he is really fighting turn 4 right now. I know you don't want to come down and lose a lap, but this is the kind of example I'm talking about. It might be time to take this 24 down pit road and get some tires.
Or, and this is just an opposing view, back it off a little bit more. I wouldn't drive it quite so hard if it's that loose, But that's just me. I don't like wrecking, to be honest.
No, and you're right.
Wow.
But
man, he is all over the place.
Yeah, and you're not wrong. And because he kind of lost that opportunity, he's not racing anybody right now. He's not side by side. He's certainly not catching the driver in front of him. So you're right. If he doesn't want to come down, that's the 00 car. If he doesn't want to come down, he's got all the options in the world to kind of back off the throttle, stay out, maybe wait for a couple of other drivers to go down green. We see the 129 car here coming down pit road. That's Russ Lundberg. But, you know, John, it's interesting. I think just about every green flag pit stop has been one individual driver. We haven't seen a tandem of drivers coming down here. And of course, this isn't a super speedway, right? I mean, you can go back out onto the track. You're going to be just fine. But it's interesting to see. I mean, you would think at least maybe 2, 3, 4 cars maybe communicating with each other or at least coming down when they see the driver in front of them making that pit stop.
Yeah, I was looking at that myself. And, you know, it was a thought that went through my head a minute ago. It's like, you know, we haven't seen a big group. But then again, we've only got 18 cars on track at the moment. So we probably won't see a huge group. Now, just off topic real quick, but up front, Wes has pulled out to almost a 3-second lead. Like I said, I think he's a guy, Brandon, that's very comfortable driving this loose race car so far into a run.
Yeah, and I think Devin, he's probably with 100% fuel, you know, he can stay out there. But one thing to consider here, we see in front of him the 2 drivers that are on the backstretch right now. I think Devin, if he can get around him, no problem. It's an easy transition. Then obviously throw this out the window. But if he starts running into enough back markers there, and he's maybe struck. Oh, we got a car spun out. That answers everything I was getting ready to talk about. Yep. So
never mind.
Yes. We'll take a look at the replay there. Pulse poppers with the instant replay. And you see him getting a little bit loose there on the front stretch. So that's Sean Breitzman getting loose off turn 4, coming down into turn 1. This was just a single car incident. But with that being said, John, now I imagine all these drivers are going to come down pit road.
Yeah, and I'm really impressed that Breitzman kept it off the wall right there. Watching that replay, a lot of drivers don't catch that whip around, and they hit straight for that outside wall. So he was amazing in his car control there. It's unfortunate he lost control, but he kept it off the wall. No damage. He'll be able to run in there, grab some fresh rubber, and he'll be restarting. I believe 7th is what the specs show. I mean, the thingamabob. I'm sorry. My brain just went tonight. Thank you. Live timing. Thank you, producer Cody. Hey, look, man, I'm old and it's late. Leave me alone. But that's some great pit shots right there. Thanks to our producer who's really on the ball tonight. In the pits, we got Devin West, and somebody missed their pits, it looked like. Or
well,
it is
a little late, but things are just getting started here at New Hampshire as we fall under our second caution of the evening. That's going to send all the drivers that have come down pit road.
I love that shot.
Or who haven't come down pit road, come down and take all 4 tires here. And that always makes the strategy go out the window, at least for now, John. I'm sure that number 5 car, Devin West, was sitting there thinking, okay, do I go in before I pick up lap traffic, or do I try to make my way through and build a big enough gap? But as soon as that caution comes out, there's no more strategy. You're coming down pit road.
Absolutely. It's all out the window. So it looks like, I'm looking at live timing here, it looks like Breitzman, who led the most of this race, Brandon, he led the first chunk of it, like say 40 some odd laps, is going to restart in 14th, it looks like. Now that caution came out, I don't want to say in the middle of green flag pit stops, but they had begun already. But that's only going to put 1 car 1 lap down, and there's Russ Lundberg is 2 laps down, and then Aaron Cooper, of course, but he had issues earlier, so he's 6 laps down. But so not a lot of guys got trapped a lap down on that, so that's going to kind of work out for everybody, really.
Yeah, Sean Breitzman falling back to 14th. When we come back from commercial break, we'll watch him climb back through the field to try to secure that top spot from the number 5.
An automobile purchase shouldn't be hard. The hardest part for the consumer in the whole process should be selecting the vehicle. We have the online credit application. We can bring the car to you to see it, to test drive it, to deliver it. We have all the tools in place, and we've had them in place for a long time. I just think now we've perfected it. It's become part of our culture. We've, kind of taken it to the next level. It is easy, and it should be easy, and it should be fun, and it shouldn't take a whole lot of time.
Hey, it's Wesley Outland on the set of the Bull Ring on Speed 51 TV, but I also want to remind everybody that you can keep up with coverage of esports with the Northwest Cup and Truck Series, the American iRacing League, S&B Cup Series, and so much more on your home for sim racing, LSRTV. Of course, remember, you can watch it, and then you can listen to it on CRN, the Community Radio Network, at wearecrn.com. Check us out when you can.
Back here at New Hampshire in the round of 8, catching this green flag just in time. These drivers coming out from the second caution here, John, and it looks like Devin West has some new competition up there. Dan Lowther, Jeff Stabno making his way into that top 3, and Ryan Bloom, points leader, going to be on the second row as the green flag drops.
Yeah, this makes things a little bit spicier right here. As that green flag comes down, West gets a great start. But what I mean by spicier, Brandon, and he's got playoff guys around him. And we talked about it earlier. You don't want to be the guy that costs a playoff guy his chance at continuing on. So we'll see how West handles that pressure.
Yeah, that is true. And, you know, I could say this, too. New Hampshire, maybe not the easiest track as these guys start to bunch up to necessarily make sure you're making the right decisions. You know, it's not like you can just drop back like you can at a speedway or a super speedway, I mean. So I think it's one of those things. West, he has the lead. We see a car get loose there. I think that's the 25, the 72. Yeah, 72 car.
72, yeah.
Trying to get some heat back onto those tires after coming off of pit road. But when you're out there in the lead, I think you're out there, right? I mean, a track like New Hampshire, it's small. It's not very wide. You're, of course, going to do the best you can. We got a car around the 58 car. That's Steve Paulison. I apologize, 58, if I just totally butchered your name, but that's going to be our third caution here. Let's go ahead and take a look at the replay. And, John, I think it's just what we saw from the 72. There's not enough heat and tire pressure on these tires, and I think we're going to see a car untouched here just get a little bit loose coming out of turn 2.
Yeah, it's especially right where he's at. He's on that seam right there, Brandon. And when these tires are fresh, that seam is not what you want to be. Oh, I think he might have got a little damage from that car behind him. Yeah. I mean, that wasn't the guy behind him's fault. Who was that? That was 76.
No.
That's not his fault at all. I mean, he was, he had nowhere to go. But, yeah, that seam, it'll bite you this early in the run. It'll bite you hard. I'd almost be interested
if we could go back and look at that exact same replay. It almost looked like the car in front of Steve was getting a little bit loose, and I'm wondering if Steve let off a little bit, and that's what got his rear end as sideways as it did. So he might have been lifting to give the driver in front of him space, and unfortunately, do the right thing.
Well, that replay was a pretty good shot right there. That on board, that car in front of him did wiggle. I believe that's a 2 car, did wiggle a little bit, it looked like. And unfortunately, you're in a bad spot. Oh, they reckon under caution?
Oh, yeah, I hear some. Oh, yeah, that's the 2 car. And I think the 129 getting a little spicy here, as John would say, under caution here, some contact. And I can't repeat what was said on the voice chat there. But it looks like it doesn't look like it's, it doesn't look like any real damage being done there. Sometimes it happens, somebody reaching for something under caution or, just dazing out there a little bit. But, yeah, you see the couple of cars there getting involved.
I'm wondering if he's not maybe a VR driver and he had a malfunction with his headset or possibly his display, his monitor cut off because he went up into the wall like he couldn't see what he was doing. And then back down across the track. That's what that looked like. Equipment failure.
We've all ran enough officials, and I've used it myself. Maybe the wheel came off or the wheel stopped working.
Dude, that's not even funny, Brandon. That happened to me. That is, I hate that people use that as an excuse for bad driving, but I'm not even joking. My old G27, the mount broke in the middle of a race at Dover, and it was bad, dude. I was in like third. Wiped out 17 cars, man. I am still not allowed to race in that league again.
you know, it happens. It's a shame when it really does happen because nobody believes you. But I think that's a really good point about the VR, because it did kind of seem like he lost visuals. I mean, he just drove right up the track there into the wall.
Well, I run VR myself. I use Oculus Quest 2. It's outstanding as far as the immersion goes and the 3D effect. But, man, when it decides it doesn't want to play anymore, it's not fun. It's not fun at all.
Well, better under caution than under green, which we're waiting to go here. I believe this may be the last lap. 2 more at the most. Lap 65 here is going to be under caution. Devin West, Jeff Stabnow up there, 1 and 2. Jeff having a nice little recovery there before that that last caution that we had, John. We were talking about him. He was getting a little bit loose. He actually lost, I think, a couple of spots because of that, but had himself a really nice pit stop, and here he is on the front row fighting with Devin West for the lead. And
now West has to ask himself, do I want to wreck the boss? No, I'm kidding. I wouldn't say that, but yeah, this should be a great restart right here.
You're going to have to check your emails after this race, John. But yes, Devin West to take the green flag. Jeff on the outside. You see him bunched up. Jeff, though, not really giving him a whole lot of room, but didn't matter. That 5 car, he is gone. He's going to be down into turn 1 all by himself. Meanwhile, Jeff leaving the door open for the 63 car of Dan Lowther. Dan, though, not really getting that good of a run. He actually checks up behind the 24 car. Oh, and another caution.
Nope.
Looks like Kevin Smith.
Oh, wow. Yep. Kevin
That's
Smith.
the 00 car.
There.
Coming down to the front stretch here. Let's see. They were single file. Oh, yeah, he got a love tap from the 76 car right there. And word on the voice chat, hey, sorry, you checked up a little bit more than I thought you would. So, but you guys will see it right here in the replay.
That is an unfortunate thing. Ooh, especially on restarts right there. Oh, heavy contact.
That was a hard lick there, John. Yep.
Yeah. Oh, man, that's just unfortunate to see, especially for a guy like Kevin Smith, who he's coming into the night outside looking in. You know, he's still in the top 8, but he really needs to have a win, if not maybe a top 3 finish in this race to continue on. And with that kind of hit, I don't know, man. He's going to have to get that car looked at.
Yeah, I mean, it was a hard lick for the guy who hit him, but, you know, he got hit right there on that wheel. And you talked about it a little bit earlier. The damage model with the ARCAs aren't always the greatest. So his left rear wheel getting smacked like that, we'll have to see if it affects him moving forward. If he's going to have to come down and you know, take some optional repairs to get that car. You know, we talked about it. You can deal with a little bit of aerodynamic damage, but the wheels and your steering, obviously, still very important.
Did I miss something? How did West go from first to third?
Well, he's still showing up for first in my live timing.
Oh, maybe those are lap cars in front of him on screen.
Yeah, the 11 car is for sure is waiting for the wave around, and I believe Sean Breitzman, he's going down pit road right now.
Okay. My apologies. I had accidentally closed the live timing there, so all I had was a screen on the track itself, so I had to bring that back up. But okay. I thought maybe something had happened and maybe Wes had gone down pit road or something. Or
well, I've seen crazier, so no harm, no foul on that one.
Do you remember back in I don't remember what year this was, but Mark Martin thought he had won the race and he pulled off.
Oh, he came down pit road. I just watched that YouTube video a couple of days ago, and I go ahead.
I don't like to admit this, but you are talking to the only person in Sim 500 to have ever actually done that.
Oh, no.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that might be something you just keep in your diary there, John.
Yeah. You know what? You said you've seen crazier, and I'm like, well, I've done crazier, but you know what? You're right. I probably
hold my
keep
beer
that to myself, but hold my here. Watch this. Hey, boy, I'm from South Louisiana. I got one better than that.
You know, there was a huge debate going on. You know, the video's old, but you know, YouTube lives forever, right? And there's a huge debate going on. People blaming Mark Martin, and people blaming the crew chief, people blaming the spotter. And, you know, I tend to give Mark Martin a little bit of a break on that. That should have been the crew chief in his ear. Hey, man, make sure you're staying out. Good win, but you got to stay out. You know, he thought he won the race. He was excited, you know?
Exactly. I'm saying, you know, and here's the thing. That's why if you've been a fan of NASCAR as long as I have, and I go all the way back to the early 80s when my dad was dragging me to tracks, but you know, if you listen to Radio Chat then versus now, those spotters are always talking to those guys 5 years ago, 4 to go, you know, stuff like that.
Oh,
Back
they
then,
annoy
not
the
so much.
drivers.
Oh,
I mean, if you ever watch the NASCAR Radioactive, you watch those NASCAR Radioactive videos, and Pace Cars Off, we're actually going to be doing a single file restart here. Devin West in the 5, Jeff Stabnow still in that second place. A good jump by the 5 and the 24 cars. They build their a little bit of space, but there is that points leader, Ryan Bloom, sitting back there in 4th, obviously coming in here tonight with a ton of wins. John, Ryan not to be counted out here tonight. I think if there's anybody that can track down the 5 car, it's going to be Ryan Bloom.
Absolutely, and we're just past halfway. That restart went down as we crossed halfway there, Brandon. And it started off with one really fast caution, and then we went 45 laps green, and now we've had 2 real fast back-to-back, or 3, I think, cautions. I think right now we're going to see these guys settle back in. They've caught their breaths. They've calmed down. Brandon, I look forward to another long green flag run here.
Well, and they're going to need to.
And as I say that, I just saw a car slow on track. Maybe he just was trying to catch it. It looked like that might have been what it was, but that 2 car was real slow on track for a second there.
Well, still under green flag here, lap 73. But, yeah, I mean, these guys, they're really going to have to start settling in here. 3 cautions back to back to back. Certainly not what anybody wants or what they're trying to do here. But with such a good start to this race, that's what these drivers are going to be doing. We are halfway through the race here. So not too bad. And I think if you just sweep these last couple of cautions under the rug, I think it's going to set it up for a phenomenal race. It's been a phenomenal race. Again, we talked about it at the beginning of the broadcast. These guys were in the practice session, John, 2 hours before this race started. Everybody coming in tonight, laser focus.
Well, that's good to do. I mean, good to hear. You know, unfortunately, we know this. We've seen it ourselves, I'm sure. Some leagues, you got those guys that don't even show up until qualifying and are usually the ones that bring out the first 2 or 3 cautions. But like you said, these guys are laser focused. And I'm going to be honest with you, I think that was just, you know, mid-race nerves there where we had those 3 back-to-back cautions. But these guys have been putting on a fantastic show so far. A lot of great racecraft going on out there. We've seen guys that have saved cars that normally drivers probably would have lost control of late in that run. So I look forward to another good, long green flag run right here.
Well, you know, too, John, the other thing to take into consideration is when you finally do get that caution after a huge green flag run like what we had, you know, for the last really 20 laps or so, you drove the race car completely different than when you started the race, and you start getting into that trans.
Absolutely.
So even though you came down pit road, you know you have fresh tires, but for the last 20, 25 laps, you drove it completely different. So I think sometimes, you know, they say cautions breed cautions, and I think that has a lot to do with it. You're still stuck on how you were driving it before you came down pit road.
Oh, that's a great point, Brandon. That's actually something I'm guilty of. I've done it a couple of times, especially at Dover. You know, Dover is a great track. It's one of my favorite tracks to run. But, man, if you go on a 40-lap tear at Dover, and you know at the end of that run, I'm sure you felt it, Brandon, that thing is just, that car is just all over the place. But you've handled it. You come down pit road, you get your new shoes, and you go back out and completely forget how to drive the race car for like 3 laps.
Yeah, you get your new shoes, but you forget how to dance, you know. So
Exactly.
A couple of drivers
out front, though, West has got him. Oh, go ahead.
Well, hey, West for sure. But I think a couple of drivers right now that really won that last caution is BJ Tidrick and Troy Daggett, both those drivers up 10 total spots from the time we started this race. BJ cracking the top 5, Troy behind him trying to get into the top 5. Some really good track positions being picked up by those two drivers.
And let's talk about Stabnow. I mean, Stabnow was, like you said, a few laps ago, he was fighting a really loose race car at the end of that long run. And he was kind of mid-pack for the whole race, but now he's worked himself up to second place, not too far behind West. Just kind of, settling in right there in his place. And somebody we have talked about a couple of minutes, here and there, but not much, Bloom, our points leader, is showing why he's a points leader. He's taken his time over 80 laps and worked his way up from mid-pack to fourth place, keeping that front in sight, but also keeping his competition in his rearview mirror.
That's right. Yeah, really good run by Ryan Bloom here as points leader coming in here to tonight's race, but only a 12-point gap between him and the second place, and only, I think, 2 or 3 more points given to that third place driver. So these guys really in a tough battle with only 2 races left in this round of 8. So Ryan doing everything that he can control out there tonight, John. It might not have happened as fast as he wanted, and of course the race isn't over now, but Ryan having a pretty good drive out there considering he's already at the top.
Absolutely. And we touched on a couple of the other drivers earlier. Kevin Smith, you just spoke about him a minute ago. Now he's that double 7. Right on, John. He's the 00 in 7th place is what I was trying to say. And, he had a rough start to this race, got involved in a couple of accidents, got spun around and brought out a caution earlier. But he's back up to 7th. Now, unfortunately, he's so far back in the points, Brandon, that if he wants to advance the round of 4, that final race, he's going to have to either win tonight or next week.
Well, the 00, the 7, the 007, Kevin Smith, going to have to do some agent work out there tonight to advance into the round of 4. And, hey, like I just said with Ryan Bloom, you can only control what you can control. And if tonight he goes out or next week, his playoff run comes to an end, what else can you say? There's such top-notch competition here. This is my first race with these guys, but we've gone back. I've looked at some highlights. I see the points, and the way that these guys speak to each other too is very important. These guys giving each other a lot of respect, and you hear my buddy John. You see it on the screen. Some really tight racing there in the turn 1 and 2.
Sorry, I vocalize a lot when I'm watching this kind of a race. That's fun,
great.
But I'm really impressed that 63 was able to get on the binders and not only not run over Stabnow in the 24, but Lothar was able to get on the binders and check up enough to where he didn't lose his car right there. Brandon, you know for a fact that is a tough. Oh, we got contact between the 2 cars behind him. One goes around, and we have a caution.
Yeah, that's Ryan. Well, it says Ryan Bloom crashed, but and he did.
He did. That's him backwards.
He did.
Yeah, that was our points leader. Oh, wow.
As we take a look at the replay here. Sorry, I'm having a little distortion on my mix call. I do apologize. Trying to catch back up with you guys. Oh, yeah, just got the right quarter panel, the 72. And it looks like the 72 just got up a little bit. I'm not saying, he's a bad guy or anything like that, but from that replay I just saw, I think the 72 car may be coming in a little too hot there, John. And it wasn't much, but it was enough to make contact with Ryan Bloom.
It is very easy to do here at New Hampshire, Brandon. I'm sure you've experienced it. I'm not even going to lie. I'm guilty of it. You've been on this track for 80-some-odd laps. It's hard to pass here. You think you're going to get in there and clear this guy, and maybe you just lose your focus on track, miss your braking point, and this is what's going to happen. It's unfortunate, but at least we can say that Bloom's car isn't too badly damaged, I don't think. He didn't hit that wall really hard at all. It's a little on that left front maybe. I think he'll be able to continue, to be honest with you.
Yeah, and after that, drivers having the opportunity to come down pit road for the second time here tonight, including Ryan Bloom. Devin West staying out. So Ryan going to take advantage of this. A caution comes out. Come down, see what the optionals look like. He hit the wall pretty hard there too. So, we talked about it with a couple of other incidences there. Making sure your steering's good. And hitting the brakes like that, your flat spot in the tires, just come down, get another set. You have 4 of them. So good call by Ryan to come down pit road.
Well, I mean, we've only got, let's see here. My math sucks. So that's. Thank you, Cody. You're awesome. I will hug you next time I see you. 55 laps to go in this race. So they've probably at minimum burned through 2 sets of tires. They still got plenty of tires, like you said, left in this race. And we still have 55 laps of racing. So we know that maybe they can make it on fuel from here. I'm not real sure how most of these guys are going to pan out as far as that goes. But with the ones that just pitted, I'm pretty sure they can make it on fuel from here on out.
All righty, so I got my feed caught back up there. I apologize, guys. Didn't want to confuse you. Yeah, all good points here. Lap 87, I believe our 4th caution of the night here comes on lap 86. 5th caution of the night here. Devin West still race leader. Jeff Stab now still riding that 2nd place. He's been up there now for a good 10 laps or so. Dan Lowther up there. It looked like the 63 car. Ryan was really giving that 63 car a run for his money too, and I think right before he started racing the 72, he had gotten a little bit loose, which unfortunately lost just a little bit of time there, John, which actually opened up what ended up being that caution. But Ryan, he's going to be able to reset. Unfortunately, though, it looks like starting P13 on this restart. So him and Sean Breitzman, who was once leading this race, both, John, having their work cut out for them.
Yeah, absolutely. Breitzman is still riding around back there in 14th spot. I'm not sure if that's by choice or if he had a little more damage than we assumed with his incident earlier. But, well, now he's joined by our points leader back there. 13th is Ryan Bloom. So that's really going to shake things up a little bit. Luckily for Ryan, though, he's not too far behind 2nd place in the point standings, I should say. Robert Gamble is, 12 points back. And let's see, where is Robert? Robert's not even here tonight. Oh, really? I'm sorry to hear that. Our producer just chimed in that Robert had a family emergency to tend to. So Bloom, he'll get out of this unscathed pretty much. And I'm hoping and praying that everything's okay with Robert's family. But, hey, we're about to go back to green. It looks like a double foul restart here, Brandon.
Yeah, back to double file, lap 88. It's going to be Devin West, Jeff Stab now on the outside. It's going to be a drag race down into turn 1. A huge jump from the 5. Looks like that's going to be uncontested. We'll keep our eyes on the 63 of Dan Lowther. If he's able to take advantage of starting P3, sends it in hot. The 24 car coming down a little bit low, but both cars clear. You see the 72 car of BJ Tidrick now on the outside of the 63, coming down the backstretch. Double file, pretty much all the way through.
Coming off 2. Sorry about that. I was really impressed by that run that the 72 Tidrick got there on the outside. Oh, he got a little loose right there, so he might not be able to clear that pass coming down the front stretch there, Brandon.
Yeah, it looked like 63 got a little bit loose now. He finds himself side by side. Nope, a good entry by the 63. The 72 is going to try to do the switcheroo. Came in high, tried to back it up, down low on exit, but to no avail. The 63 of Dan Lowther holding it down, and we got action on the backstretch. A big hit.
This is a big one. This is the big one here at
Ryan
New Hampshire.
Bloom.
And that, oh, yeah, he got destroyed on that. We got parts and pieces of cars everywhere, and Bloom is taking the tow.
They're still wrecking, trying to get back on the backstretch. Ryan Bloom, Troy Daggett, Judd Wakefield, Sean Breitzman all involved. Let's go back and take a look at this replay. Yes, it was. It looks like we're going to catch the tail end of this. It looked like everybody was single file. Oh, and it's getting loose, the 51. Trying to hold on to it. You see the cars dipping down low, trying to avoid it, John, but unfortunately the 51 car sliding all over the place. You see the 46 car of Sean Breitzman at the end of that. You see the 2 front tires on the 51 of Troy Daggett. And this was the biggest one of the night.
58, and I tell you what, man, that's what I was talking about, that car model. There's just no mercy. No mercy with that new damage model, man. Let's see what kind of a hit he took here.
Yeah,
we're riding on board now with Stephen Paulison. And, Brandon, this is going to be ugly.
Well, Oh, sees it, tries to go down low.
Oh, goodness.
That's
Oh,
almost
wow.
a good opening for those iRacing Twitch clips that you see going around YouTube so
Yeah.
much. It always starts off with something like that, where just out of nowhere something's going across your front bumper, and that's exactly what happened right there. And
That'll
unfortunately,
make you
hey, we
yell.
talked.
That kind of a
Yeah,
wreck will make you yell to yourself, man. Like, whoa!
yeah, your dog starts looking up at you. What's going on, man? Why are you
Yeah,
yelling? You know.
where'd that car come from? Man, that's
So
unfortunate. That's going to make a huge shakeup, I think, in the points, though, because there were so many of our points leaders involved in that. Man, and like I said, Bloom took the tow, so you know he's going to be, if he's able to get back in, he's going to be in the pits for a while.
yeah, and for the people at home, anytime you take a tow, it's not just fast traveling to pit road. Once you get to pit road, there's a certain amount of time that you have to sit there before any repairs are made or tires are thrown on. So yeah, you can get to pit road faster that way, and sometimes you don't have a choice, but you do take a little bit of a time penalty on those tows, John.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not sure what it is here at New Hampshire. I can tell you that it's forever at Talladega, literally forever. I mean,
Yes.
I once got wrecked, Brandon, right at pit entrance, and I had to take the tow because my car was dead. It took 3 minutes to get from the spot where I stopped to my pit stall 50 yards away. So yeah, it's just, I have no idea how iRacing figures that out. I would love to talk to somebody about that. So hey, how do you guys figure out the towing time? All right, it's the algorithm of a squared times x over e minus 9 billion 2. Okay.
Well, they laser scan the tow truck hauling the car, you know.
Okay.
So I'll tell you what, you've never, as a road course ringer myself, there's some road courses out there that you take a tow, and that tow is a good 8 minutes. You know, I mean, it's really
man.
bad. So at least at New Hampshire,
Or
it's
like,
a little bit.
have you ever,
Go ahead.
I was going to ask you, have you ever launched yourself off, what was that? Was it turn 11 at Sonoma? The hairpin, right?
Oh yeah.
I got launched off of that thing one time. Like, my car exited the track, and even though you instantaneously reappear in your pits, it took 15 minutes for them to let me get to work on my car.
They got to
this
go.
is back in 2011, so you know it's a while back. But
They have to go through the sands of time to be able to pull your car back out there. So
yeah,
now up
find all
front
the
here,
parts
hey,
I left on track.
yeah, we've had a handful of cautions here. We're getting ready to go back. Green flag. Nothing's changed up here in row number 1. It's still Devin West trying to outduel the 24 car of Jeff Stabnow, which he does on this restart. But John, a better start there to Jeff on that outside. Still gets beat down in turn 1, but a good restart there. The 63 car now on the inside.
We got another car spinning.
Oh, and we got another caution.
Wow. Man, this is starting to
another
kind of get
big
ugly
one.
a little bit here.
Yeah, and you know what? That's
the
back to
46
back
took
for
a fatal
Sean
hit there.
Breitzman. Yeah, yep.
Yeah. And he's probably thinking to himself, I'd just rather go drink a beer right now.
Well, he might. I mean, he was leading the majority of that first green flag run that we had earlier into the race. Since then, he's been caught up in now back-to-back cautions. It looked like, this 63 car, John, as we take a look at the replay of this caution, the 00 getting into it with the 72, not a whole lot of room, not a whole lot of give and take there. And there's the contact
No,
with
not
the
at all.
46. But that's 2 restarts in a row that the 63 car of Dan Lowther has really taken advantage of starting P3 on that inside line. It's the second best seat that you can have on these restarts. Nobody likes being that second place guy because you're on the outside.
No, not at all.
You're giving up a little bit of room to the leader so that you can see when he goes. If you're not the leader, you want to be third. And right now, that's what Dan Lowther is. And he's been taking advantage of these restarts. It's just, unfortunately, we've seen quick cautions.
Yeah, and I'm thinking that they're probably going to go back to a single foul restart here, which is going to put the ball back into Stabnow's court because he'll be right there on the bumper of the 5 this time. But that's a great point, and we've been seeing it all night. on a double foul restart, that guy that leads the field down, in this case, Mr. West here, has a great advantage. He goes when he wants to go, and he knows when he's going, but nobody else on the field does. The guy in third can hug up right on his bumper, and as soon as he sees him go, he can go too. But like you said, that guy on the outside of the front row in second place, he's kind of got to keep an eye on the 5 car and hope that he can go when he goes as well. It's just, I've never liked starting on the outside pole ever.
Nope, it's a tough task, and even any outside position, second through 6, you just feel like you're being hung out to dry. But it is what it is. I think Jeff's done a good job here on these last couple of restarts. But I just pointing it out, the 63 car, if we can stay green for a couple of laps, I think he's going to work the inside of Jeff Stabnow, and we're going to see a new second place driver in that 63.
I think you're absolutely right on that. Now, on the other side of that coin, though, if Stabnow gets another restart like he did a minute ago, it's going to be a tough fight for that 63. It really is.
Yeah, and like you said, these guys might go back to single file, and which if they do, John, then throw away everything I just said. So then all advantage back to Jeff Stabnow. So good recovery by Kevin Smith, though, John. He's back up to 4th place. He was having some difficulties a few cautions ago. Looked like he was going to have a bit of bad luck, but he's back up here top 5, sitting there in 4th.
Yeah, that's impressive. I mean, we were basically just writing the guy off. Well, let me rephrase it. I was basically writing the guy off earlier, and he's right back in this, courtesy of these really fast-paced cautions we've had. So let's see if he can take advantage of it, Brandon. Hopefully he'll be able to stay up there and get a really good finish and maybe help improve his point situation going into next week.
Time will tell. Lap 99 of 140. We're going to break that barrier of 100 laps this time around. Should be green flag drop this time around, but it looks like we're waiting for maybe that 63 blinking a little bit. Had some trouble earlier into the race, Dan Lowther did, so he's still obviously having those connection issues, but he's still sitting there strong as this pack. If we're going to go green here, these guys really need to start bunching up. Okay, there it is, John. They just got the word on the radio. We're going single file.
Yeah, I kind of figured as much. That's a common practice with a lot of leagues after you've had a whole bunch of back-to-back cautions. It just it helps keep those cautions to a minimum. And here we go.
Yeah,
that was a great shot right there. You see what I mean right there? Stabnow was able to keep himself right on the bumper of West going down into 1 and 2. That's a great restart right there for those two guys. Stabnow managed to give himself a good cushion from that 63, so he didn't have to worry about that inside line maybe getting into him a little bit on that restart.
No, he really did, and that was the best case scenario for the 24 car of Jeff Stabnow, and at that point, all you got to do is not spin your tires, which he didn't. But I'm really impressed with Devin West right now. I really felt like Jeff Stabnow, Dan Lowther, that was going to be their opportunity to really start giving the 5 car a run for his money. But after another solid restart, you can already see John already starting to pull away from Jeff Stabnow.
Yeah, already almost a half a second within 1 lap of the restart. I don't think Mr. West is messing around. I don't think he's concerned about his tires wearing out too fast, because as we saw with that one really long run, Brandon, he can handle his car quite well on old tires.
Yeah, I really can. We see a couple of drivers, Eric Cheney in the 76. He was battling a little bit of a loose corner exit. He's right there in that 5th spot. BJ Duvall behind him. BJ and Ray Fournier, both 6th and 7th, also both up 7 spots. So again, a lot of these drivers just having some really good nights. Troy Daggett, again, we've brought him up a couple of times, up 9 spots. He's right there up in 7th. James Thurston, up and down night. He started P10. That's where he finds himself right now. So consistency is king, and the best ability is availability, and that's what he's doing with himself right here on the lead lap, gatekeeping that top 10. He's got Russ Lundberg behind him in the 129 machine, up 8 spots, and it's Sean Breitzman in the 46, John, our last car on the lead lap, so only a total of 12.
And, we got a great fight going on right now for 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. Basically, 3 cars all vying for that 1 spot. You got the 00 of Kevin Smith, who we were talking about earlier. making that hard inside pass on the
Yeah.
63. The 63 looks like he's going to let him go. Lothar let him go. He knows he's a points chaser.
He totally.
Oh, wait a minute.
The 63 car dove way too hard into 1 and 2. A nice recovery on the backstretch, as you see. Maybe some contact. No, they stayed clear.
My
So
goodness.
yeah, a little mistake by the 63. Overdrove it into 1 and 2. That opened up the door for Kevin Smith in the 00. But right now, the 63 car, Dan Lowther, still with the advantage. Here comes Kevin.
Wow, what a power move.
Wow, on the outside line.
Got a little loose right there. I think Lothar in the 63 there, he got loose in the middle of 1 and 2, it looked like. Just a little wiggle, but it was enough for Kevin Smith on the outside there to really power through on that outside and take that spot away. Now, I was going to touch on this before all that excitement started, Brandon. If you look at our scoreboard, those 3 guys in blue down at the bottom, those are guys that are all leading our points right now.
Harris,
that's
Bloom,
the
Vining.
top 3 in points.
Yep. Well, and you know
that's
what,
not
though?
good.
No, I mean, it's not, but at the same time, Bloom's going to be fine. I mean, he's 2
Bloom's
laps
gonna be great.
down. Harris, hey, he's the first car on the lucky dog back there in 13th. I think we'll probably see another caution here. I think Harris will be fine. Vining, though, he's still in the pit box. Not too sure what's going on with him right now, but he scored at 16th. Wakefield's still in the pits. You see Cooper and Burke both out. So just too many cautions, too many incidences there, John. And I think Vining getting wrapped up into some messes. He's having to take care of some required and some optionals on pit road. So you're right. We do have 3 drivers in the playoffs down there, a lap or 2 down, but I think both those drivers, Harris and Bloom, they're going to be fine.
Well, this is me not really paying attention to my surroundings, and I apologize. There's also not that many cars, hence not that many points to lose on track right now. I'm not knocking their car count. I'm just making an observation that if we had a bigger field, say 25, 30 cars, something like that, then this might be an issue for those top 4 in points. It is going to help Smith and Daggett both close the gap and maybe make their race next week not quite as stressful for them. But we've only got, like you said, 12 cars on lead lap and maybe 15 or 16 cars actually left in the race. So that shouldn't affect those guys in blue too badly. I think they'll be okay. You gonna make it?
Back up front, Devin West, still your race leader, taking over the lead long before halfway through this race, probably after that second caution that we had, being able to beat out Sean Breitzman, who since then he's fallen 11 spots to 12th. He's been wrapped up in a couple of cautions, but Devin West, once he took that lead away, he hasn't looked back. You see the relative right there, almost a 2-second lead on Jeff Stabnow, 2.5 on Kevin Smith. Dan Lowther back there, 2.5 seconds. So Devin West right now, non-playoff driver, but looking to be a winning driver here in the Northwest Racing ARCA Series.
And that doesn't bode well for these guys in second, third, and back. The fact that West is able to build up such a commanding lead right now, because we watched him dominate at the tail end of a long green flag run as well. So I just, this does not bode well for those guys. So we may just be watching a race for second, Brandon. I'm not sure. But speaking of racing for positions, it's heating up again now between Smith and Lothar right there in third and fourth.
Yeah, that's a really good point there, John. He's shown that he can do it in the long runs and the short runs. Kevin Smith back here in the 00, still battling it out with the 63 machine of Dan Lowther. Troy Daggett behind him in 5th. Lap 112,
that's a good
out
roll
of
for that turn right
140.
there.
Seeing a couple of cautions here tonight, but just some hard racing incidents out there, and everybody's been really apologetic and level-headed in the voice chat. So no, I don't think we're going to see any late race antics here tonight, John. Everybody out there just battling hard.
Yeah, and it's been really good racing for the most part. Like you said, these cautions were just really unfortunate, racing incidents. But that in-car shot right there kind of really demonstrated something we touched. What happened?
Oh, the 5 car, Devin, struggling here a little bit on the last 2 corner exits. Got really loose out of turn 2 onto the backstretch. He's going to have to be careful here. He's up there all by himself. It can be easy to start second guessing how you're driving. Yeah, when you don't have that rabbit car in front of you, nobody's really pushing you from behind. And right now, I think that's all that's going on. He needs to be able to mentally reset and just say, hey, start hitting your braking zones, hit your racing lines. You're fine. But he still continues a little bit. That's better. But he got really loose about 2 laps ago.
I'll tell you, you just said it perfectly. It's so easy to lose focus when you're out front like this with such a gap. And wow, look at this little bunch of fighters back here. You know, 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th of all. You could throw a blanket over them right now.
Yeah,
they're so close together. Stabnow's loving that because he ain't got anything to worry about either. Oh, look at this. Look at that drive. The 51 gets middle out through 1 and 2 right there. That was really, really impressive.
Yeah, it was.
So move Daggett up to 4th.
The other winner of this right now is the 00 of Kevin Smith. He was able to avoid what's going on behind him right now. So if you're Devin West, Jeff Stabnow, and now Kevin Smith, this is exactly what you want to see in your rearview mirror. You want these drivers to start going side by side, banging doors, and just leaving you the heck alone.
Absolutely. Give you some space, give you room to, just kind of calm down and get yourself settled into a good rhythm. And, and it doesn't help those two, Smith and Daggett, with their points positions either. I mean, they're up there in the top 5 right now where the rest of these guys are sitting, laps down, so that's good for them. And, I'm watching the relative here, and it doesn't seem like West is really pulling back out to that 2-second lead. Well, as I say that, I'm just not going to look at that thing anymore.
I'll tell you what.
For me.
Troy Daggett's a name I've brought up a lot. He's up 12 spots right now, John, and it looks like he's going to go for 13. He is right on the back bumper of the 00 car of Kevin Smith, looking on that inside, almost touching right there. But we've called him out a few times for moving up through the field, and he's looking to take home this podium. Just a really good run right here. We are going to take a commercial break. We'll be right back after a word from our sponsors.
Hey, it's Wesley Outland on the set of the Bull Ring on Speed 51 TV, but I also want to remind everybody that you can keep up with coverage of esports with the Northwest Cup and Truck Series, the American iRacing League, S&B Cup Series, and so much more on your home for sim racing, LSRTV. Of course, remember, you can watch it, and then you can listen to it on CRN, the Community Radio Network, at wearecrn.com. Check us out when you can.
All righty, thank you. That was a word from our sponsors here at LSRTV. You guys saw the side-by-side. We are under another caution here, and unfortunately, as we take a look at the replay here, what was a good run from the 00 car, these guys were battling out, and John, I don't really know what happened there.
I'm not going to point fingers here, Brandon. You're going down into that corner so hard, so fast. Maybe Kevin's spotter didn't have time to tell him there was a car down there, and he was just going to run his normal line through that corner. Or it could have been maybe the 51 is too aggressive. It's just hard to say right here. Look at this. Great shot from our producer. That's the bumper cam. And going to exit off of 2 here, going down into 3, and it's such a hard hit that the 00 took there. He's got a lot of damage to fix.
I think the 51 car may be just a little late on the brakes.
Yeah, that's what it looked like. He just, what do kids say these days? He yeeted it down in there.
Yeah,
Sent it.
That's exactly.
Something like
I'm
that.
watching another replay from a different angle. That's exactly what happened right there. And, that 00 car's got to be as frustrated as a naked beekeeper at that right now. Those guys were racing clean, racing hard, and all of a sudden you're hitting the same braking zone you always were. And again, I'm not saying anything was on purpose or not. I'm calling it like I see it. That 51 car drove into turn 3 hard.
Very, very aggressively, and we've got some pit stops going on. Devin West is in the pits now. 51 stayed out. So I'm going to be interested to see. If Smith can get back on track, what his reaction to this is going to be. You understand what I'm
he
saying?
is. Yeah, I certainly do. And if you look at his car, he was able to come down, he's able to use a fast repair. He's going to come out there fine.
Oh,
yeah, one fast repair. So he's going to come out fine, be able to put the Band-Aid on there, fresh paint. But you're right, John, because I'm just saying right now, and again, it may or may not have been on purpose, but I mean, that he was red hot. And I'm wondering if the 51's getting an EOL right now. I think he is. I think the admins and race control have looked at that replay, and that's all the proof you need. They're blaming the 51, and he's going to take an EOL this time around on the screen flag. And
I don't know how many short tracks you've been to, Brandon, but they usually have a guy that stands there and points his butt and taps it at you.
Yes.
When you get the EOL on short track. I wish iRacing would implement that. That would be so cool.
Well, my first time at a short track was actually the playoff race at Bristol just a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
It was my first time being there. And let me tell you something, man. They don't call it Thunder Valley for nothing. That place was roaring.
Well, you picked a great place for your first one, man. That's I used to live, when I got out of the military, I lived up in Richmond, Virginia. I lived literally 5 minutes away from the Speedway. So I did a few races over there, and it's just so much fun to be in a short track atmosphere. But enough of that. We're going back to green, and we've got people up front that we haven't been talking a whole bunch about tonight there, Brandon.
Well, yes and no. I mean, BJ Tidrick, he's been on a tear all night in the 72 car. He was on a roll earlier on in this race before he got wrapped up in a caution about 2 or 3 cautions ago. But he moved his way up into the top 10, top 8, pretty well before that. But he's up 14 spots now. He started 15th. Now he's starting pole. He's going to take the green flag. You got the 76 car of Eric Cheney on the outside, and it's a drag race down into turn 1.
And it looks like Dietrich's going to take that lead not from Cheney. He's going to keep his lead from Cheney. Meantime, we got Stabnow back there fighting with the 26 car who taps that wall just a little bit. They're fighting for 5th and 6th with Fournier. And wow, Stabnow sends it in there, takes that spot away with a really aggressive pass on the inside of the 26 car of Fournier. So move him up 1 spot. And let's see. Wow, they got 4 cars. There's West, our former leader right there. He's working his way back up to the front.
Well, it's that time of the race right now, John. We got 17 laps to go. These guys know that it's we've had it's not been a high caution count. Oh man, we got another one. That's the 24. That's Jeff.
Yeah, he washed up coming off that turn, but we're still green. The caution has not come out yet. Staying green. It's going to stay green. He's got a lot of damage on that car.
Jeff's frustrated. He's on the radio. He knows there's no green coming, at least for now. We'll see if race control throws it out. I wouldn't, if they did have it now, they probably won't. He's got to clear.
If it hasn't come out yet, they shouldn't do it now.
Well, he's not going to come down pit road, though. And he probably should.
In the meantime, we got a big fight going on between West trying to take that second spot away from Lothar in the 63. He's going to do it. I think right here he's going to clear him going into 1 possibly. Now, remember, these guys that stayed out, they're on older tires. They're probably on 15, 20 lap older tires than West and those guys that pitted. So West is going to make a quick. Oh, well, he was going to be quick. He wiggled a little bit, but Lothar's going to give him that spot, it looks like. In the meantime, our leader, Tidrick, is out to a 1.2-second lead. We'll see how long that lasts because he's got Mr. West catching him in a hurry right now.
Yeah, I think 23 lap difference that's there, John, I think Devin West is going to be just fine up here. And Dan Lowther there in 3rd. He's got about a half second on Kevin Smith behind him. Sean Breitzman, got to shout him out. I thought maybe his race at one point was over. He's clawed back into the top 5 here late in the race with 14 laps to go. But right now, yeah, you're absolutely right. It's all going to come down to who's got the tires. And right now, I think it's going to be that number 5 car of Devin West and the 63. I mean, you see these guys still racing. The 5 car still hasn't cleared the 63. I mean, space-wise, sure, right? But that 63 is not going anywhere.
No, he's not. They both pitted, took on fresh tires, but they've been fighting like this since the restart, folks. Mr. Lothar and Mr. West have just been going at it. In the meantime, you know what that's doing, Brandon? That's giving Tidrick up there in that 72 time to breathe. And hopefully, he's sitting in the car hoping these guys will duke it out with each other. And just as I say that, finally Lothar clears West and sets his sights on the lead of Tidrick.
Yeah, and he clears them convincingly, too. I mean, that 63 clearly has his eyes set now on the 72. And BJ knows, that 63's coming. He's charging. He knows Devin West is doing the same. How hard will he fight? How hard will he push to be able to win this race here at New Hampshire? And you see it right there. That's such a good view inside the roll bar there on Dan Lowther. Will he keep poking his head on the inside? Oh, and 72 chopping down low, trying to close that door off on Lowther. Lowther having to go up high, and that opens the door for the 5 car of Devin West. And they're back to side by side as the 00 of Kevin Smith smacks into the wall.
And we have a 3-car battle with a lap car thrown in for good measure here between Tidrick, Lothar, and West. And yes, that's right. We got a 4th car poking his nose up into this thing. I'll tell you what, Brandon, it's about to get wild up here up front. We're coming down to 10 to go here shortly, and it's getting crazy.
Yeah, we'll see if we can get 3 wide here in New Hampshire.
Blew that corner.
Yeah, he did. And he's done that a couple of times here tonight. And there goes Kevin Smith now on the inside. He's going to move up to P3. But he's done that a couple of times here tonight, and it's really starting to bite him now with 10 laps to go.
We thought Breitzman was out of this thing. This guy, Breitzman, and here we go, fight for the lead. Breitzman led the early 4th of this race, folks. Got a couple of accidents. If you're late getting here, we counted him out, but here he is up in 5th. Oh, we have contact between Lothar and Smith. Smith high on the track there, doesn't make contact with the wall, but that's what cost him a spot right there. Oh, and look how loose Breitzman was just now.
Oh, and he takes the
contact.
air out of the 72. Oh, he tried to save it. BJ did a heck of a job trying to save that. I'm not even sure there was physical contact there. I think he just took everything out of the rear end of the 72 car. Certainly not intentional there out of the 5 from Devin West, but that's how he takes the lead. He had to check up to avoid that, which means Dan Lowther and Sean Breitzman now can close the gap on Devin West, and we're back to a 3-car race for the lead.
Hey, you guys out there in TV land, wake up. You're missing a hell of a race right here. I tell you what, it wasn't boring before at all to say, it's just been great, but this finish is shaping up to be hellacious. And West is going to pull away a little bit. Look at this fight we've got right here for 3rd and 4th. Man, I'm sorry, 2nd and 3rd, excuse me. I'll tell you what, yes. Brandon, it's getting lively. It's getting spicy, baby. It's getting spicy.
Yeah, and you can tell Sean Breitzman really feeling himself right now because there's one rule in ARCA racing. No bump drafting, no touching. I mean, it's almost impossible to do on this service. And right there, that last lap down the entire front stretch, that 46 locking up to the back bumper of the 63 car. He's ready to make a move. He dives down on the inside into turn 1. Can he get the run out of turn 2?
It's all about the brakes, baby, right here. He's trying to outbrake that 63, going through 1 and 2. Looks like he might pull it off, and all he has to do is clear that bumper, but he does not do it. So that fight continues now down into 3 and 4.
What started off as the 2 drivers, John, it was only about 100 laps ago. Devin West and Sean Breitzman were running 1 and 2. Breitzman fell off, got wrapped up in a couple of cautions, looked like he was out of the race. Here we are, about 100 laps later with 5 laps to go. Breitzman looking to take the lead back from Devin West.
Well, I wish Cody had the Jaws theme right about now that we could put on as like a background music to play while we watch Breitzman hunt down West in that lead. And let's not count Lothar out yet. Now, he's still back there in 3rd. He's got a strong car, but he's just got to keep his head on his shoulders, Brandon, and not make any mistakes like sitting in way too hard in the corner.
Well, he's got to make sure that he is going to be there to take advantage of any late race shenanigans by these drivers. Devin West, Sean Breitzman, they're free to race one another. We talked about it so long ago that neither of these drivers are playoff drivers. If they beat and bang and one wrecks, it's not going to be the end of the world here. And so Dan Lowther, I don't think he's going to be able to catch these guys up front by just pure speed, but he's got to make sure that he's focused till the end of the race to make sure if that 46 car does get a run and these guys start fighting, he's there to take advantage.
Absolutely. 3 to go right now. West has a half a second lead over Sean Breitzman. And like you said earlier, these two were battling it out for the first part of this race, with Breitzman leading the most laps at first. So here we go with 3 to go, coming through 3 and 4 now. Could West hang on to it? Brandon, what's your thoughts?
I do believe West is going to hold on to it. You see the 46 car right there through turn 3 and 4. It looked like he overdrove it. He's really pushing that 46 car. West, of course, driving as hard as he can as well, but he's stuck with his racing line this whole time. He hasn't really overdrove a corner yet. He's in full cruise control. So I think the 46 car gets a little bit loose right there out of turn 2. A little bit of overdrive there.
You're absolutely right. I think 46 is trying to take full advantage of those fresh tires he took on that last restart. But right there, again, he's just driving in so hard, trying to make up ground. But the harder you try to do that, the more you're going to give up. So here we go, 1 to go, and our leader is still Devin West.
We are CRN.com calling the 1 to go, the white flag. It belongs to Devin West down the backstretch. One last shot for Sean Breitzman in the 46. Down into turn 3, still about over a quarter of a second gap. It's going to be Devin West. As long as he holds on to it, which he does, he's going to take the win at New Hampshire.
What a fantastic race we had there, folks. I tell you what, Brandon, that was exciting. I mean, that was truly exciting to watch.
Yeah, it really was. Some notable finishes. Of course, Dan Lowther. John, what could be said about the 63? That guy, a huge bounce back. A good run by him. BJ Tidrick, though, 11 spots he found. He is inside the top 5 there in 4th. James Thurston 5th. Frank Harris as well. Ryan Bloom, he's going to finish 14th. Like you said, a small field here tonight. It shouldn't ruffle the points too much, at least for those top 2 drivers. Jeff Stabb now, he got wrecked. He's going to end up in 12th off the lead lap. Same with Kevin Smith. As the number 5, Devin West burns down the house. Just a phenomenal end of this race. Now a tradition here with Northwest ARCA Series, and there it is.
Wow!
The congratulatory beatdown.
I did not see that coming. Oh, my Lord. The humanity.
Oh, no.
Oh my God.
Big hit by the 63.
Good. It's good. Straight down the goalpost, folks. That's a good field point after attempt right there. Was good. Holy smokes. Oh, look out. Boom. Oh, that's awesome. Oh, my goodness. But that just says a lot for this group of guys right there, Brandon, that they're able to race this hard for this long tonight and still come in and have some fun like this.
Yeah, I mean, and I don't think he hit all wall there in the 46 car, but yeah, of course, and I think it always means a lot to the winner to know that, when the race is done, you guys are still friends at the end of the day, and you still want the best for each other as these guys continue to turn this into
like a last man standing
here.
Competition now?
Yeah. Yeah. You guys thought the checkered flag was the end of the race, but really it just signified that, hey, now the real race begins.
Let the carnage begin.
Yeah.
In a world where you thought the race was over.
So we're going to pull up some people for some race interviews here soon as we take a look at the unofficial race results presented by LiveSimRacingTV.com. Of course, the Northwest ARCA Series, Season 1 there on the left, Devin West, your race winner. The 46 car of Sean Breitzman, although a late race effort to take that lead back, falls short. Dan Lowther in the 63 car with such a phenomenal run here, had his name in the hat all night long. In 4th, BJ Tidrick, we talked about that, found 11 spots throughout this race to finish P4. James Thurston in 5th, Frank Harris 6th, Ray Fernier 7th, Russ Lundberg in 8th, Will DeBall there in ninth, and Troy Daggett rounding out your top 10 here at New Hampshire. In 11th is Eric Cheney. Jeff Stabnow, unfortunately, in a late race wreck in 12th. Kevin Smith, 13th. Points leader heading in here tonight. Ryan Bloom, going to be a couple laps down there in 14th. Steve Paulison, 15th. James Vining, Judd Wakefield, Aaron Cooper, and Carl Burke. We're going to take a quick break, and when we return, we are going to have interviews with the podium drivers. All right, back here at the conclusion of New Hampshire, we are with third place driver Dan Lowther. I think is how you pronounce that in the 63 car. Dan, what a heck of a night for you. I think in the middle of the race, having a little bit of trouble, but for the whole race there, top 5, top 3. I think they're just towards the end, maybe a little bit of overdrive and trying to chase Devin West. Did you burn up some tires there at the end?
Yeah, we had a good car all night. The long run I was trying to save through the middle portion of the race just because we were concerned with the long, late green flag run. And then we kept staying out, and the three of us took tires there at the end. And I was pushing really hard to try to stay ahead of Devin before we caught BJ because I knew that was going to be the ultimate battle for the lead. And I kind of overused a little bit there trying to keep ahead of him.
John? All righty, Dan. Well, before we let you go, first off, congratulations on a P3. This race, at New Hampshire, it can be a tough track. We talked about it all night long, especially with these ARCA cars. They don't have the best brakes, the best aerodynamics. But before we let you go, is there anybody you'd like to thank for tonight?
Oh yeah, for sure. Tom Denchel Auto Group, they help out with the broadcasts, and then LSRTV for always carrying it. And my teammates, BJ and Eric and Troy, we all try to work together and strategize, and so it's good having them guys on board. And it was definitely a fun race tonight.
All right, Dan, appreciate your time.
Thanks, guys.
Next up is second place driver in the 46 machine, Sean Breitzman. Sean, how you doing?
Good. How you doing, Brandon?
So a little bit of an up and down night here. You led a lot of that first green flag that we had before Devin really kind of took over the race. And as you were trying to make your way back through the field, you got caught in a pretty big wreck, was able to come down, use your fast repair, work your way up through the field. And it looked like you were going to be able to maybe catch Devin up until about the last 2 or 3 laps. But talk to us a little bit about this bounce back that you had, because at one point it looked like you were going to be completely out of the race, and there you are finishing P2 fighting for the lead.
Yeah, no kidding, right? Definitely a roller coaster of a race. Started on pole, led a good amount of laps there, and just overused those tires, got it loose. Thankfully, corrected it, but overcorrected it, and then overcorrected it back the other way and brought out the caution. But thankfully, didn't hit anything. Was able to kind of save that and just try to run my race and everything, and just kind of kept being in the wrong place at the wrong time. Got a excessive speeding penalty, just a whole lot of extra stuff that really didn't need to happen. So to walk away here with a P2 is thanks everybody for causing cautions. Thank you, because without that I wouldn't be there.
Well, I was saying throughout the race about a few drivers, you can only control what's going on with you. You can't control the people around you. There was a lot of cautions, but you got to put yourself in position to be able to bounce off those cautions, and that's exactly what you did. Put yourself in position, got back up to P2. A heck of a race, Sean. Congratulations on the P2. Anybody you'd like to thank here tonight?
Yeah, I just got to thank Breitzman, LSRTV, Tom Denchel Auto Group for supporting the ARCA series. Big shout out to Rob Gamble and everybody here at LSRTV. Thank you guys for everything.
All righty, that was second place driver Sean. We'll let you get going for the night. Celebrate that P2 right now. It's the race winner, Devin West, in the Kevin Harvick throwback car here tonight. Devin, you took the lead early on from Sean, and you really never looked back. Obviously, because of the cautions, you lost some track positions here and there, but once you were up front, nobody could catch you up there. Devin, what was it about New Hampshire and your car here specifically tonight that was so dominant?
Yeah, I like New Hampshire a lot. It's my favorite tracks in the league and that we run in this league. Something about it, just as a driver, there's a lot you can do. You can the way you use the gas pedal, or the brake pedal, or turn the wheel, that kind of stuff. Makes a big difference. You can get kind of creative in how you do that. And so it's a lot of fun as a driver just to go out there and equal cars, to kind of see what you can do, how you stack up. So I have a lot of fun with it. Yeah, I don't know. Car was good, obviously. Iverson gave us a good setup tonight. It always helps. I was able to kind of manipulate it from there and do pretty well.
Yeah, some would say a track like New Hampshire falls in that category of a driver's track, right? When you get to the super speedways, you got to be quick on your toes and focus, but there's so much out of your control that can happen. Completely opposite of a track like New Hampshire. Like you said, you're working the brakes, working the throttle, working the wheel. You got to methodically move through traffic. So it's got to feel good to win at a track like New Hampshire. A lot of guys consider this a tough track, but it didn't look tough out there for you tonight, dominating the race. Did you ever think Sean was going to catch up to that back bumper, or did you see him kind of overdriving it there with about 3 laps to go?
Oh, we have Sean Breitzman behind you, is always a threat. A lot from what I know how to get around this track, I learned from watching Sean in the Truck Series and in the Cup Series, and he's good everywhere he goes, especially this track. So, able to get around him and hold him off at the end, really means a lot to me. That says a lot. Obviously, unfortunately, I got into BJ there, and I earned the win through my driving and how fast I was over the night. And I kind of threw that away there, so I feel pretty bad about that. But it kind of threw me off my game a little bit. And so Sean was coming on me, and yeah, definitely a threat, obviously. And so a little nerve-wracking.
Yeah, so a lot of respect there being shown. Devin, before we let you go, celebrate a little bit more. It's got to feel good to win a race on a Friday night, too, because you got, some downtime to be able to celebrate. But is there anybody you'd like to thank particularly here before we let you go?
Yeah, obviously, you and John, and I want to go back and watch the broadcast and see you guys, do a great job. And obviously, LSRTV, the broadcast, all of our big races, and they're always top quality. And then obviously Tom Denchel for supporting the ARCA series, and James Viney for putting it on basically, and obviously Sean, Jeff, everyone else that helps put on the league in general. Also my sponsors, Photo Web Solution, King's Custom Hardwood, Motorsports Distributing. They all do a lot for me, and not only on the sim but also in real life. So yeah, big shout out to them.
All righty, we're going to let you go on that note. Devin, once again, congratulations on winning New Hampshire.
Thank you.
All righty, folks. Well, that's going to do it for tonight's coverage and post-race interviews. For my partner, John, I'm Brandon. Shout out to Cody back there producing the whole thing. Drop a like, drop a sub. We appreciate you guys tuning in here tonight all the way through the end. Catch us live next Friday as we pick up the last round of the round of 8 before that championship race in 2 weeks. We'll see you next time.